Good morning and Happy New Year, everybody. I'm going to start documenting the installation of a cooling system for the battery in the Prelude. So for reference, the Prelude has a 24 kilowatt hour battery made from 18650 cells. The cooling system is ready to be installed. I've just got to finish assembling it up there on the bench. But what I want to do is document the spread and range of temperatures before and after, so we can kind of see how things look. So we've got an average temperature of about 20 degrees C across all of the modules, 21 there. So what I'm going to do is finish charging and go for a drive and warm the battery up, and then we'll do a similar take and see how the spread looks, see how warm they get. It's currently about between 20 and 23 degrees. These meters aren't perfect, but it'll be good to do a comparison, and hopefully the new system will work quite well. If nothing else, it'll even out the temperatures, which is just as important as keeping temperatures down. And it's about to get quite hot this week in Perth, so we'll have plenty of material to work with. Alright, so we've taken a 77 kilometre drive. The temperature in the cabin is a toasty, well, it's not all that toasty, 32 degrees, but we can see that the battery temperatures range from 33 to 36 degrees, which is fairly typical. But I haven't been attempting to fast charge it either, and when I was charging it at 13 kilowatts, it certainly increased in temperature quite rapidly, which I don't have that option set up at the moment. But that's kind of the range we can expect. So the next step is to get the battery cooling system built, install it, and go for another drive and see how it stacks up. Okay, well, we've got our cooling plates fully constructed, glued together with silicone gasket material. It's Loctite 598, I think. Absolute mongrel stuff. It goes off really quickly, but it seems to be working because it doesn't leak. All the screws went in fairly comfortably. I've just propped it up, looking for any drips or signs of water welling out of a seam or out of a screw hole, and so far so good. Obviously I'm just circulating water through it at the moment using a standard electric water pump, and it's at a reasonable flow rate of about 1 litre per minute. The pump that's in the Prelude is actually about twice or 3 times as strong as this pump here, so it should go through with a little bit more pressure. So drawing a handful of watts, 12, 13 watts to do that. So what I'll do is basically increase the pressure, not that that's increasing the pressure by much, and I'll just monitor that, looking for any leaks. If there is a leak, I really don't think I can do much about it other than cover it with more silicone and hope it goes away. But otherwise, so far so good. The car is up on the hoist. The battery's about to come out. You can see here where the cooling loop comes down and immediately returns and goes back. Ordinarily it would go into the inlet and outlet that's currently bunged up. So what we're going to do is drop the pack out, install those cooling plates between the batteries and reassemble, seal up the box, put it back into position, and make these connections right here. We'll see how we go. So something I try and do when I drop the pack out is just inspect it for any evidence of cracking or rubbing or fretting or opportunities for moisture to get in. One place that's a bit of concern for me, as you can see I've tried to address it here, is any water that kind of splashes up off the road might make its way into here and potentially ingress into the pack this way. Fiberglass is reasonably waterproof, but it's not perfect. Things like, this seal here, obviously I'm going to have to cut that with a knife as I open it up. The sides aren't too bad. Right here you can see where the four-wheel steering rubber has been rubbing on this side of the pack. That odd shape there was from a previous effort, but nothing too serious. The rubber itself on the boot looks fine. Yeah, no other obvious signs of damage or ingress, which is a good sign. Alright, well, the cover is off, and that's the battery pack right there. Looks to be fairly dry and no obvious signs of fretting or damage like that, but you can see I've got probably just enough room to mount the cooling plates in between rather than a piece of foam. It'll be tight, but there's probably about 16-17 millimeters I can work with, which is right on the limit of what I've got, which is about 20, I think. We'll see how we go. Okay, so I've got the cooling plates in, I've got the hose joining the two, and I've got the thermal pads installed. They rolled on quite nicely. I've just dropped the second module on here, and it wasn't too bad. You can actually move them around on the top surface of these these pads. Look pretty good. It is higher than it was before, so I'm going to have to find a 10mm spacer for the for those steel brackets that hold the things down. Pretty good fit. Of course, my battery packs aren't perfectly flat, so when we get down here you can see that it's kind of sitting a little bit high there. That's not good. I might try and squeeze some silicone in there or something just to create an ongoing bond. I can't push that down any further without lifting somewhere else. But look, it's the best I can do. I could have got a thicker pad, but more thermal resistance, pluses and minuses. So I'll try and get this second one on and we'll screw it together. Also went around the edge there with the flapper wheel just to remove the old cruddy silicone that was used to seal it up. But, I'll let you know how I get on. So the last module is on, and we've definitely got a problem here. You can see daylight through there. That's really not good. There's quite a lot of daylight is visible through there, so that makes that thermal pad completely useless, unfortunately. There's really not much I can do about that except try and fill it up with some kind of a reasonably thermally conductive gap filler. I don't know what that might be, but we do our best. Alright, so just to demonstrate how bad this is, this shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening at all. That basically indicates that in all battery modules, nothing is making good contact with the thermally conductive material. Virtually anywhere. It's just as bad around this side too. So we can find this gap here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So yeah, this is a problem, folks, and I don't know how I'm going to address it. Ironically, there's one side that's actually not too bad. But even the one that I thought I could just tidy up with a little bit of silicone, no, that's pretty bad. So look, I can probably try trimming a bit off the front, because that seems to be where it's stuck. Likewise down here, but back to the drawing board, I think. Okay, after a hot sweaty day of frustrating work with thermal pads that don't quite meet, and this fairly inexpensive white thermal paste that on a 37-degree day is very, very runny, I seem to have pressed everything down, squeezed it all out, and whilst there are still gaps, there aren't as many. Look, you can see it's just a bit of a messy job. I had to add 10 millimeters to the clamps that hold the battery modules down, but they're nice and secure now. The paste, while it's still kind of warm, is a little bit slippery, so there is actually a little bit of movement fore and aft. So I'm going to try and wait for the day to cool down, wait for the solvent to evaporate on that thermal paste, and we'll see if it dries up a bit and stops moving. Yeah, I just can't do this without making an absolute colossal mess. But the main thing is that it all bolts together. It is a little bit higher, so there is just enough clearance in the box, because the original battery pack was made to be even taller still. So time to start reassembling and putting bits of FR4 behind conductors wherever possible. Last thing I want is that thing shorting to that thing because of some junction there. So some FR4 will be doing that job. But, so we continue. Right, here's the acid test. I've got coolant running through, well, just water at the moment. Circulating, got all the bus links made up. Decided to use cable instead of the bits of copper that I used before. Obviously the link between the two is still a copper bus link. I'll put that in when I'm ready to install it. I'll throw some desiccant satchels in there as well, but I think it's better than what was previously there, which is nothing. The not very elegant solution of using a thermal pad and thermal paste is a bit disappointing. Lessons learnt there is if you use a machined cooling plate, it'll be flat. If you screw them together on the cheap like I did, it won't be flat. But anyway, it's all bolted down, and if anything, I think it's a bit more secure than last time. Weight's gone up by a little bit. It's probably about maybe 6 or 7 kilos more weight, but that's neither here nor there. So, time to refit the cover, put lots of silicone around that and screw it into position, and prime it and see how we go. Okay, well, we're back in. All the silicone's been placed in the right places, and the new plumbing has been jury-rigged with a couple of connectors. Now, this particular hose here is fuel line hose. It's really, really tight, really tough to work with. I managed to force that one on a bit further than that one. I can't take that one any further without pulling too hard on either end. But in any case, everything's back together, all the glues and screws. So let's lower it down and go through the menu and see what we can see. Alright, the first thing that's going to happen is a whole bunch of air bubbles are going to start circulating in that pump, so I'll spend a bit of time just tidying up those. Everything seems to be connected correctly. And 27, 28, 27, 28. It is a warm day today. But let's just get purging and see what happens. Okay, ready to go for a drive. We've got cabin temperature in here of 32 degrees C. I haven't put the aircon on yet, but all of the modules are between 27 and 28 degrees. So what I'm going to do is go for a drive and warm the pack up a bit. If it gets to about 32, 33 degrees, I'm going to put the air conditioning on and we'll see how the temperature drops. Main thing I'm also looking for is making sure all the temperatures remain pretty close to each other. But given the thermal conductive pads, I don't know, we'll see how we go. Okay, so I went for about a 25k drive and just checking the temperatures now. They all look to be within about 2 or 3 degrees of each other. So 31, 31, 31, 31, 30, 31, 31, 30, 32, 30, 30, 31, 30, 31, 30, 31. So that's a really good sign. Now what I'm going to do is plug the car in and charge it at 7 kilowatts or max rate and watch the temperature climb up a bit, and then I'll run the air conditioning and hopefully we'll see that temperature drop back down. I was instructed to come pick up my wife from the train station, so I thought what better chance to warm the pack up. You know, it's still sitting at 32 degrees. It's not 40 degrees inside the cabin, but it is pretty warm. It's probably about, 35 or so. But most importantly, 32, 32, 33, 32, 33, 32, 33, 32, everything's nice and consistent. So what I'm going to do is put the air conditioning on and we can hear the compressor fire up, and that should start pumping chilled water through the battery. It's 2 minutes past 1. We'll see how quickly it takes to get back down again. Alright, well, it's been about 20 minutes. Not all of that driving, but I was driving back up the hill. And the temperature climbed by 1 degree on the way up the hill. And I've just been sitting here in the cabin for about 5 minutes and the temperature's dropped back down from 33 to 31. So it is actually doing its thing. 31s, 32s, 31, 32, 31, 32, 31, 32. So I'm satisfied that this is actually working. It's doing its job. So all it's got to do now is not leak. If you were charging the car at 7 kilowatts or even more, you'd probably want to have this thing running the whole time, which sucks because it's pulling about 2 kilowatts just to keep the air conditioner going. It's not the most efficient system. So there you go, the cooling system has been installed and it works. So glad I could share that with you all. All the best.